This is Piales, an event in Charreada. Charreada is the national sport of Mexico. This is Mangana on foot, another event in Charreada. This is Mangana on horseback, a third event in Charreada. These three events compose 1/3 of the events in Charreada. Charros have been catching horses by their legs for the last 400 years. In that time, they learned that catching a horse by its legs is safer for it than throwing a rope around its neck and trying to hang it. Doug Winnett, a large animal vet in Oregon, says that he catches horses by their legs for his veterinary work. In fact, it's a pretty common practice according to him. Recently, a state representative named Bill Hensel and a state senator named Mark Haas put in a bill to stop horse roping in Oregon. This was originally opposed by the PRCA-sponsored rodeo, the Pendleton Roundup. So Haas and Hensel added a right to rodeo amendment to the bill. Even so, veterinarian Winsett still opposes the bill because he thinks it's wrong. Then Randy Thomas of the Pendleton Rodeo jumped in and said, well, we don't rope horses, so we don't have any problems with this bill anymore. His tone seemed arrogant, and he didn't seem to consider that the bill would shut down 1/3 of Charreada. You also get the impression that the closest that Hensel and Haas gets to livestock is in the cooler section of the supermarket, because they don't seem to know anything about what they're saying. The original complaint about horse roping was the Jordan Valley Rodeo, where they do big loop roping. Now, in big loop roping, the first thing they do is rope the horse around the neck and pull it tight. And the animal rights fanatics were complaining that the horses were gasping for air. So to solve this, Hensel and Haas put in a bill to stop roping the horses by their legs, which gives you the impression that they can't tell one end of the horse from another. What's interesting to know, too, is that animal rights fanatics like Eric Mills complain that calf roping and steer busting are more dangerous to animals than horse roping. He also says that horse jumping is more dangerous to horses than horse roping. In fact, there's an interesting webpage called rodeocruelty.com, which you better have the stomach for it if you go to it, because you'll see enough animals killed in rodeo to open up a meat market. So apparently Haas and Hensel don't mind how many animals you kill as long as you're wearing a Stetson. What is most upsetting about this bill is that it's going to drive charros and charras out of the state of Oregon. And they're good people. Charros and charras compete as teams, and the teams are generally built around their families. It's not unusual to see a team composed of 2, 3, and even 4 generations of the same family. What's even more upsetting about this bill is that it infers that chatos and chatas are cruel and barbaric, which is the verbiage the animal rights fanatics have been using about them for the last 20 years. And it's upsetting because chatos and chatas are good people who would never intentionally hurt an animal. Just watch this video and you'll see that the animals are not hurt. That's because Chariata is a celebration of the traditional animal husbandry methods of old and new Mexico. And it is a good tradition, and that's all the chatos and chatas want to do, is maintain their tradition of how they took care of animals. The problem is, the chatos and chatas get chastised by people who have no experience with livestock, whose whole experience with livestock is in the meat cooler at the supermarket. They don't understand the animals, they don't understand how they need to be treated. They talk about horses like they're puppy dogs, and they want to treat them like pets. Well, my largest dog is about 100 pounds, and my smallest horse is over 1,000. If you can't understand the difference, then something's wrong. For the past 5 years, the chatos have been offering the Chato Challenge. That is, let's do a scientific study of the dangers of chariata and rodeo and jumping, and let's determine what's dangerous and what's not. So far, there have been no takers. Rodeo doesn't want to do it because only a pea brain would think that throwing a rope around an animal's neck and trying to hang it is less dangerous than catching an animal by its legs. The jumpers don't want to do it because, again, only a pea brain would think that dropping a horse from 6 feet high on its front legs with a 150-pound rider on its back is less dangerous than catching it like chatos have been catching it for the last 400 years. The animal rights fanatics don't want to do it because they know that the carnage that they keep saying happens just doesn't. The fact is, less than 1% of the animals used in any of these events gets hurt. The fact is, a high school football player has a better chance of getting hurt than an animal in chariata, rodeo, or jumping. Maybe Haas and Hensel ought to take their time and put the money into protecting high school football players and leave animals that aren't getting hurt alone. 1% is an interesting number because that's how much of the $156 million that the Humane Society of the United States brought in that was spent on taking care of animals. Last year, over 50,000 horses and cattle were used in chariata with no serious injuries. Last year, PETA euthanized over 1,200 dogs and cats. You gotta wonder who's more concerned about animal safety. So, watch the rest of this video and realize that chatos and chatas don't want to hurt these animals, if for no other reason than it costs too much money to replace them. Chatos and chatas are good people who would never intentionally hurt an animal. Yeah, some accidents happen, but those accidents are few and far between, and it's certainly no reason to stop such a beautiful tradition. So realize that these animals are used, but they're not abused.
De los charros valientes dan con sus cantos la evocación. Festejo que huele a surco y a tradición, rodeado de la faena más admirada de mi nación. Bonito es el jaripeo y cuando es su animación, Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor. Upaliu, paliu, upaliu, paliu. Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor.
Y así se canta en mi tierra, ¿verdad que Dios que sí?
La gente aplaude con emoción y un toro viene rodado muy bien coleado por Don Nabor. Ya prepararon un toro pa' que lo monte Don Felimón. Y mientras sus lanzadores corrían la riata con gran primor. Bonito es el jaripeo y cuánta su animación. Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor. Upaliu, paliu, upaliu, paliu. Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor. La fiesta charra, fiesta del sol. Donde los charros valientes dan con sus cantos la evocación. El jaripeo es un festejo que huele a surco y a tradición. Remedo de la faena, más admirada de mi nación. Bonito es el jaripeo y cuánta su animación. Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor. Upaliu, paliu, upaliu, paliu. Yo quiero montarle un toro pa' que me mire mi amor. Ay, ay, ay. La fiesta charra, fiesta del sol. Donde los charros valientes dan con sus cantos la evocación. El jaripeo es un festejo que huele a surco y a tradición. Remedo de la faena, más admirada de mi nación. Bonito es el jaripeo y cuánta su animación.